Do you know the security state of your cloud infrastructure? Stick around as we identify some of the cloud infrastructure assessment tools.
You're watching IT Pro TV.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to more of the compTIA CySA Plus show. That's right, we are coming at you with the cloud infrastructure assessment tools. And one of the things that I had to ask Dan about this is, hey, with these tools, what are we really assessing here? And it really boils down to security, right, Dan?
That's none of your business, Wes.
All right, so that's been a good show today.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. Is with more and more of our environments moving into the cloud, we're going to have to still check the security that is wrapped around these environments, right? Just because we no longer have a physical server sitting in a room somewhere doesn't mean that the software and the operating system and all that other good stuff doesn't still need to be checked for security issues. And not only that, but the cloud platform itself, maybe some of the functionality that they provide for us is also a part of that. Now, that being said, we do have a few tools that we are going to take a look at today. Just some stuff that I thought would be really good for you to be aware of as an option. Not the only fish in this pond, but some of the more commonly used and well-renowned pieces of software for doing this type of activity.
Sure. So the first one we're going to look at is an open source, right? Just multi-cloud security assessment tool.
Yeah,
right?
all these will be open source.
All of them are open source. Oh, very good.
Available from GitHub. We're going to do a lot of GitHubbing today.
All right, very good.
So the first one will be known as Scout Suite.
Scout Suite. All right.
It is a very nice piece of software. I have pre-gamed here and jumped into their GitHub repository so that we can learn a little bit more about Scout Suite. So let's go there now. Here we go. You can join GitHub today. Oh, that's not a part of that. That's right. There's all the good stuff, the stuff that makes it work. So if you want to dive into these things, we can see that it is, well, it's Python, right? Good old Python to the rescue for us. Scout.py. Now, what I love about all three of these, we're going to get into, Scout Suite here being the first, is that they have phenomenal documentation because, well, you're probably not up to speed on how these type of things work. You just need to be able to be familiar with how you deal with your cloud provider and how, if you wanted to do a security assessment of your cloud service, what that would entail. So if you need that, all that documentation is in each one of these lovely little software packages that I'm going to be showing you today. So here's the description. Scout Suite is an open source, multi-cloud security auditing tool which enables security posture assessment of cloud environments. Hey, that sounds like what we're talking about today, so that's good. It's using APIs exposed by cloud providers. Scout Suite gathers configuration data for manual inspection, highlights risk areas. That's exactly what we need, right? That's what we need to determine, because way too many times nowadays do we see the fact that somebody's cloud instance was accessed through maybe an API key that got exposed, maybe open resources, S3 buckets that had any kind of authorization on it. They were just open to the world, even read and write I've seen. So us being able to check those resources for those types of misconfigurations will be great, and that's where things like Scout Suite comes in. Now, the cool thing about Scout Suite is cloud provider support. The following cloud providers are currently supported: AWS, Azure, GCP, Alibaba even, right? Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So there's plenty of cloud to go around when it comes to Scout Suite. So if you're working in multiple areas, maybe you're using a conglomeration or an amalgamation of each one of these systems, or you're on something that's less, we all know the Azures and the AWSs of the world. They're the big dogs, right? GCP is starting to get some more traction, but not as much nearly as those two. Alibaba definitely. I didn't even realize that Alibaba had a cloud platform until like recently. And when I say recently, I mean the last few days. So if you needed to go with something like that, or if you had some instances in those cloud platforms, Scout Suite's probably going to be the way you want to go.
I think really what it comes down to, like with Alibaba, is I think they followed Amazon's model, right? They got so big with their online ordering infrastructure.
Yeah,
they said, hey, we got all this network infrastructure.
Just
we might as well
here.
rent it out.
Yeah, might as well make some of that money.
That's absolutely
right?
it.
Hey, and good for them. Hey, all right, we like that. Now, like I said, documentation, phenomenal here. Even screenshots and captures that they're giving you. So just a really quick run through on the CLI and how that works. I think you do have to have the AWS CLI installed on your machine for us to work so that you can work with that API calls. And you're going to throw some of this stuff in there to actually make it work. But there you go. It's launching Scout. Once it's done and it performs all these fetches, it's going to generate an HTML page, right, that you can then look at. And obviously, again, another really cool screen capture for them to kind of give you a very quick and dirty look at how this works. I think they even give you a resource to play around with this, because it says the above report was generated by using Scout Suite against this SAD Cloud platform. So maybe that's well, you know what? Let's do this. Click, open a new tab. Let's see what that is. Oh, there you go. So if you need to spin that up, you got a little SAD Cloud. Love that right there. That's some funny stuff. So if you wanted to test and work with this and learn, maybe that's a great pairing of the two softwares or the two platforms, so that you can play around with this and get some under the belt. If you need more information, hit those wikis, right? Basic usage. If you need some help, the provider. So if you're using AWS, do a profile, adding credentials. I think it relies heavily on AWS as it's kind of getting your feet wet in the thing. But there's plenty of other stuff over here for you to check out. So if you're working with Azure, you can just click on Azure and it shows you all that you need to get that going. So Scout Suite is definitely becoming a very mature software suite for us to be able to look into our cloud platforms for security issues.
All right, so how about we talk about the next one on the list, Dan? And if I'm saying this right, I believe it's Prowler.
Prowler. I like that, right? It's a nice name. I think it
sounds like a heavy metal band.
It's going to go somewhere. Yeah, that's right. Watch Prowler live at the Coliseum this one day. No. This is another one of our lovely little pieces of software for testing that security. So let's jump to their GitHub page and see what they got going on here. And we can join GitHub. Dang it. It's got me again with a stinking join GitHub. They really want me to do that. I should probably, I already am there. Anyway, Prowler is a security tool to perform AWS security, best practices, assessments, audits, incident response, continuous monitoring, hardening, and forensic. Wow, that's a lot. Seems to be quite the nice little package, but I noticed that it said that it's AWS security. It didn't say Azure or cloud. It didn't use generic terms. It said AWS. So if someone were to ask me about Prowler, I would probably want to focus my mind toward AWS security things. So just a helpful tip for you. And there we go, all the lovely stuff that's inside of there. And of course, the CIS benchmark tool, table of contents. Again, phenomenal documentation that is wrapped around this. We're going to see a lot of that, but I do love, let me just look at this high level overview of the table of contents. Obviously, description, features, requirements, installation, yada, yada, yada. Screenshots, always great. Advanced usage, right? That might be a good section to jump around in. GDPR checks, HIPAA checks, trust boundary checks, custom checks, third-party integrations. I'm seeing some real functionality in this tool that could be helpful to a lot of organizations, right? So being able to perform those checks, make sure you're in compliance with your regulations, that might be worth something to someone. But we'll just scroll down here and just kind of take a look at what they've got going on. 140 checks, controls covering security best practices all across AWS regions. That's good. And most of AWS services, not all though, just most, and related to the next groups. So if you're doing all these wonderful checks, that could probably get you somewhere. With Prowler, you can, yeah, whatever. Let's move on. Installation, I want to find those. Usage, pretty straightforward. You can also spin this up with Docker, apparently. If you want to avoid installing dependencies, you'll use Docker for that. But these are basically, if we wanted to do some checks, so if our custom profiler region, so P, you give it the custom profile, and then you -R for US East or US West or whatever region you want. There we go. Some screenshots of what it looks like. Man, I love that's a pretty screen. I love the text-based stuff. I'm going to be honest with you. I've fiddled around too much with these security things. I'm always in a console somewhere doing something in the CLI. So that's good for me. But great formatting, great output still, even though it's not HTML type based. Still did a really good job of making it very readable, which I like. And then of course, just you'll notice that some of this is blacked out because, well, those are user IDs and stuff to someone's AWS account. Probably not a good idea to put that on the web for the world to see. FYI. But yeah, if you're able to pull this kind of information down, like what the user ID is, the account number, that's probably a good thing for you to know whether or not that's out in the wild for the world to see. So there you go, some simple screen shots. Well, it does have some what looks to be HTML. How about that? They do it too. Everybody's got to follow the bandwagon. There you go, Prowler, kind of doing the same thing, just in a different way, a different piece of software. So maybe if you're just AWS focused and you need maybe something like those GDPR checks or HIPAA checks, that could be where you want to run to. I'm not so sure that Scout Suite offers that functionality. So there you go, some differentiation.
I was going to say, I don't think that falls under key management best practices. Go ahead and publish it to GitHub.
Yeah, put that in Pastebin. Man, I'll never forget where that's at.
Yeah, exactly. Now I know where it is, and so does everybody else. So, so we know a little bit about Prowler, and we'll kind of chalk it up to memory that Prowler equals AWS. Little tip from Dan on the exam when you sit that exam if you get questions like that. Let's move on to our next one, and I'm so wanting to call this thing Pikachu, but it's Paku, right?
Paku,
Paku,
yes.
right?
I think it's a type of fish.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, a fish. Anyway,
I'll go with that.
Paku from Rhino Security Labs. If you want to go to Rhino Security Labs, you can get it there, but I've gone to their GitHub repository to mess with this. And there you go. We're in there. AWS Exploitation Framework. Oh, there's AWS again, right? AWS is kind of popular, but this is this seems to be a little bit different. Whereas this is an exploitation framework. Think of more of like a Metasploit for AWS. I think that's basically what they were going for with this. So really good stuff. Oh, there's an update. Oh, that was a while ago, right? 5.6. That wasn't too long ago. What are we on, the 28th?
Yeah, 28.
We're on the 28th, so not too. Paku's database structure has been updated to, and Paku proxy has been removed. Oh. So if you've messed with this before, that might be good information for you. But here's what is Paku? That's really what we want. Paku is an open source exploitation framework designed for offensive security testing against cloud environments, right? Developed and maintained by Rhino Security Labs. Good for them. It's a really nice piece of software, actually. You can work it with Docker. Again, think doing Metasploit, but against your cloud provider. Okay. Now, that being said, I do want to go ahead and just kind of like put in a little something you might want to need to know about running just about any of these tools. Is if you're doing security assessments against the cloud, there might be something in your SLA about that. So you need to make sure that if you are going to perform any of these activities against any of your cloud environments, that you have all the correct permissions and requirements filled out, cross all the T's, dot all the lowercase j's, and make sure that that is squared away. Because if you start testing against something, you got to remember, you don't actually own that equipment. And they can get angry about that, right? Now, we all make mistakes, and maybe you'll get a slap on the wrist or something like that, but why take the chance? Why make an enemy of your cloud provider when you just need to do your due diligence and figure out whether or not you need to contact them and say, hey, we'd like to perform some security auditing of our systems that are in AWS or Azure or whatever, and make sure you have all the green lights on that. Some things fall under acceptable use, and some things are going to fall under the idea of that you need to actually get express permission before you engage in those certain activities. So I just want to take a minute to kind of like take a sidebar here and remind you, if you didn't already know, that that is a thing that you need to be on the lookout for. Let's jump back into Paku. Pretty straightforward to run. Paku's modular power has a bunch of plugins available, so and modules. So assistant attackers, enumeration, privilege escalation, data exfiltration. So this is really jumping into, I'm doing kind of a penetration test kind of activity against my cloud provider. Great stuff here. Now, what I did love about this, I think they also have a wiki, basic commands and all of their wonderful things. Yeah, there we go. Go to the Paku wiki for a whole lot more information. Again, great stuff in here. If you go to, man, video guides, right? They give you the resources necessary to make sure that you understand how to work with this and get yourself started using it and employing it to your real benefit and not to your detriment, right? I think they even had something on the end of the last page there. Where was it? Down here, warnings. Where was it? Submitting bug reports. Oh, that was, I gotta go back one more. There we go. AWS and the acceptable use policy. I knew I had seen it somewhere, caught my eye. But so if you want to do a type of penetration testing, more intensive offensive security type assessments, maybe Paku is the way to go. Cool thing is they also have another resource available that kind of goes along with this. Let me go to their website here really quickly. And I want to say it is called, where was it? Man, Rhino Security. That's my bad. I'm not remembering it off the top of my head what it is that resource is. Pen testing AWS environments. Show me that. They have another platform that they created. It's kind of like WebGoat or something, but it's in AWS, where you run a script and it spins up a bunch of AWS instances and different types of their offerings and services that they have, so that you can perform those tests against it. Look around inside of their website. You'll end up finding it. I just can't remember the name of it right off the top of my head, but it's a great feature and will be kind of like go hand in hand with your ability to use Paku. It's meant to test with Paku so that you can get that experience with it. But there you go, a couple of security solutions for different architectures and different purposes that you might need when it comes to your cloud environments. So hopefully that helps you guys out, not only in the real world, but for the exam.
All right, remember, ladies and gentlemen, that the security posture of your cloud infrastructure is important, and with the tools that Dan has showed you, for instance, Scout Suite, Prowler, and Paku, you can identify and determine what that current posture is. Now, what I can determine is that we don't have enough time left in this clock to go on to anything else, so we're going to go on to those things in other episodes.
Thank you for watching IT Pro TV.